Welcome to Business Amplified with host Kevin A. Dunlap.
This podcast is for small business owners aiming to amplify their enterprises.
Explore strategies to play a bigger game by becoming an author, public speaker, podcast host, or expanding your brand in other ways.
Elevate your business on Business Amplified.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Kevin Dunlap with Business Amplified, and today we have David. David is a financial planner for small business owners. He resides in South Carolina. I can't wait to hear more about what he has to say. So let me start off by saying, David, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin, how are you? I'm glad to be here. I host the Weekly Wealth Podcast, and I get to interview a lot of people. So I love being on this side of the microphone. It's pretty fun to get the message out. And honestly, I like learning how other podcasters run their podcast.
Well, I would agree with you as well. I do run my own podcast, but I also love being the guest on other people's shows as well. That way, I don't have to worry about the content, the editing, and all that stuff. I just go there, show up, and then when they say, "Hey, Kevin, we're releasing you this week on Monday," then I can go and just and promote the show. So I fully understand what you're getting at. So, David, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What is it you do, and why is it that you do it?
So I'm David Chudyk, and I'm a certified financial planner. So I work with a company called Parallel Financial. Parallel Financial is an independent registered investment advisor. And the short of it is my job as a financial advisor is to help my clients to sleep at night with regard to their money decisions and to help them to make what they want to have happen, have the best chance of happening. So if you told me I have $5,000 saved and I want to retire next year with $20 million, probably not going to be able to help you with that. But if you have some realistic goals, we can certainly help you to put together a plan and hold you accountable and make adjustments as necessary. Now, the other thing that I do that's a little bit unique in the industry is I help business owners, and I have such a heart for the business owners because I'm one of them, but I help business owners to think about their business as an asset. And when you start thinking about your business as an asset as opposed to a job, you have a more valuable business. And we look at 8 drivers of business value. So there are 8 things that if you get these right or get them moving in the right direction, you can sell your business for a higher multiple when you're ready, or simply have an easier and more profitable life today. So the business owners are pulled in so many different directions, and sometimes they just put their own personal financial decisions on the back burner. And I've seen it over and over. That's a huge mistake because the clock is ticking for all of us.
And now, before the show, we were kind of talking a little bit about business. And one of the things that we were kind of discussing is that a lot of business owners, so one of the things I talked about somebody who's a solopreneur, that your face is your brand. However, oftentimes, if somebody's looking to sell their business, then their face is no longer their brand. They have to build something that's going to be scalable without them being there. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. So if I wanted to buy Kevin's business, and if my broker and you are negotiating, and we're talking about that, let's say Kevin hasn't taken a vacation or hasn't been able to take a vacation in 8 years. Well, why would I buy that business at a premium price? I might buy it as a discount, but that shows that Kevin is just way, way, way too involved and too necessary for his business. Now, let's look at the other end of the spectrum. Let's say that Kevin's business is highly systematized. Kevin's customers have been trained that when their bill is off by 32 cents, they don't call Kevin because Kevin's not the guy who knows how to fix that bill. They call somebody in accounts receivable and so on and so forth. And Kevin goes to Europe for 3 months every year, which is great for 2 reasons. Number one, it shows cash flow is there, so Kevin can afford to go out of town. But also it shows that Kevin's business can run without him. That's a business that I would pay a premium price for because I'm not buying a job for myself. I'm buying future cash flow of which I don't need to be involved with every transaction.
Now, we've talked about this on a couple of different shows. I'm sure, David, you've heard of Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about that, how Robert Kiyosaki wrote about for businesses is there's a quadrant. In the top left is E, which stands for the employee. The bottom left is S, the self-employed. The top right is B, or the business owner, and I is the investor, and that's the bottom right. Now, a lot of people who are starting a business, they are thinking that they're a B, a business owner. However, they're just self-employed. So, for an example, if you're a massage therapist or if you're a hairdresser and you go say, hey, you know what? I'm going to cut hair. I'm going to start my own business where I'm going to be cutting hair. That's self-employed. You cannot step away from it. So if you were to step away, you'd lose your revenue, your revenue. However, if you want to have a business that you can scale, possibly even to open up a second location, or as David's talking about, maybe you want to sell that business, you have to be able to be not you have to be able to set up systems so that you can step away, so that you're no longer the bottleneck in your own business.
Yeah, and that's true. So if we think about that hair cutter or hairdresser example, so let's say you are my barber and I go to see you every few weeks and I think that you do a really, really great job cutting my hair. And when I say hair, literally it's like a single hair that I have because it seems to be disappearing. That's awesome. And if you enjoy being a barber, that's a beautiful thing. However, you better darn sure make sure that you, as the barber, are saving money for your retirement because there's no business to sell. The only thing you would have to sell when you want to retire is your scissors and your barber chair because why would I buy? There's nothing to buy. So if someone was thinking, well, I'll buy Kevin's barber business, they would really just start from scratch and build up their own clientele because what I'm buying, what I as a customer am paying for is for Kevin to cut my hair. And when Kevin's not cutting my hair, he's not making any money. Whereas if Kevin built an empire of where he's maybe renting out other chairs to other barbers and he's getting a little piece of revenue from everything and ultimately trying to build his business to where a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller percentage of revenue is coming directly from Kevin's haircuts themselves. That's the only time you have a sellable business that's actually an asset. So if you were my client in that example, we would be working towards figuring out ways to either save a lot of money because you don't really have a business to sell. And if you are cool with just being self-employed, that's fine with me. Not everybody wants to build a major empire. But if you want to build a sellable business, you'd have to do things like figure out how to get me on a subscription model. Maybe you charge me every month and debit my credit card every month for haircuts, and maybe you divide your building up and rent out other chairs and find all other forms of revenue that don't simply include Kevin's haircuts.
And that reminds me back when I was running my first business back in 1999. One of the and it was the network marketing, which is a great business model, and if done properly, was a quote that I heard about, and it was I think it was said by J. Paul Getty. Now, Dave, let me know if you've heard this before. I believe he said, "I'd rather make 1% efforts off 100 people than 100% efforts off myself."
Yeah, so I've never heard that specific quote, but I've heard similar, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, what you have to do when you embrace that attitude is you have to give up the control freak aspect of it. And a lot of business owners, they become a business owner or they become self-employed because they're driven and they don't want to take, let's say, orders from somebody. They don't want to have a boss. And if that's what your personality dictates, that's great. However, you have to get away from this mentality that number one, I as the business owner am so freaking important that I have to do everything. And number two, you have to have the attitude that if I can hire somebody, whether it be full time or contract, and if they can do it 70% as well as I can do it, then I need to have them do it because that's just, there are a lot of administrative things that business owners are just typically not great administrative people, but sometimes they hold on to it just because they feel like they can only do it. My bookkeeper It's crazy. I held on to bookkeeping for a long time. I finally hired a bookkeeper and she said, I love this stuff. I was like, are you crazy? Like, you enjoy balancing checkbooks. Like, how could anybody enjoy that? That's nuts. But then you start thinking everybody's different, right? So she enjoys, so what I'm not good at and what I don't like doing, there's somebody out there that is good at doing it and enjoys it. Now, this particular bookkeeper, if you met her, she would probably really struggle in my role. She would probably not be able to generate business very well. She may not be very influential to high net worth clients and making strong recommendations confidently. So what I enjoy, she's probably not good at, and what I detest with a passion, which is bookkeeping, she loves, which is crazy to me. I can't understand it, but it works.
Well, and this is kind of true with anybody who has a job that works for a larger organization. Some people are going to be great at bookkeeping. Some people are going to be great at management. Some people are going to be great at sales. I mean, and they all have different motivations as to why they do those different those different positions in what they enjoy doing. Well, that bookkeeper is not going to be a good salesperson, or they may not even be a good manager. That manager is not going to be a good bookkeeper. So people have their own skills and talents they can bring to an organization. And it's just talking about for those of you who are out there who are just starting your own business is to start thinking, is to start thinking bigger. Like, what are the different departments that you have? And then, yes, your name may be in each of those departments, but then what can you start doing to actually grow your business by replacing yourself with somebody else that is better?
Yep,
And
yep.
eventually get to the point where somebody else is the CFO. You're now just the owner of the business.
Yep. Yeah, no question. And this has been a struggle for me in my career because sometimes you have to take a leap of faith and pay for somebody else. Now, this bookkeeper, obviously, my little business, we don't need a full-time CFO. So, I pay her hourly and she's on a contract basis. But in the beginning, sometimes you view that as a cost, but it's really an investment. And while I'm not fumbling through QuickBooks, screwing things up, I'm out generating business, getting clients, doing the things that I can only do. So it works out. It works out tremendously well.
And then eventually, David, you'll find somebody who's even better at what you do, and you can replace yourself. So then now you can just become the owner of the business, where you don't have to do the hustle as so much anymore. As we mentioned before, we talked about Bill Gates. Bill Gates he's not the one that's taking the service call. He's not the one that's doing. He's not the one that's creating all the new software or all of that. He's now just a business owner and as well as a philanthropist. But now he's built up his organization. He maybe started in his garage, against like Steve Jobs. But the thing is, he built it up to the point where he actually completely replaced himself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can have a vision. So my vision is to have a select group of personal clients that I work with, people that are highly profitable, people that I enjoy, and because I think I'll always enjoy working with clients, but the vision is for everything else to not be done by me, and also to have other advisors that are generating more revenue, and we have some other product lines. So yeah, so we're moving in the right direction, but it does take a mindset shift to give up that I need to be involved with everything because I'm the only one that can do it right type mentality. It'll really stifle a business.
And I could fully see where you're coming from on that because as a business owner myself, most of my businesses I was the key earner in the business. Back before I moved to Raleigh, when I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, I ran a real estate investment company, and I did everything. I mean, and I did that for 16 years. Now, that was not a business I could sell because I mean, the only thing I could probably sell was my client base. But the client base was very loyal to me. But would they be loyal to Jane Doe that became the new owner, even though she had a similar product or service, she may not be able to provide the service that the other people were expecting from me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another thing that makes businesses more valuable is recurring revenue. So if you can figure, and there's a difference between recurring and reoccurring. So let's say that you or I go to Chick-fil-A once a month, and sometimes twice a month, and sometimes it may be it may be 3 months in between. That's reoccurring revenue. That's because they can't count on me and my revenue regularly. Now, recurring revenue is Netflix takes whatever they take out of my credit card every month, $21, $25. Netflix, number one, they have their financial people can be very clear on financial projections and revenue projections because they have money coming in every month. So if a business owner starts to think about how can I transfer some of my revenue to become recurring revenue. Now, an example is there is a florist, and florists tend to make a lot of their money, like 80% of their money, on Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. And that's great, but it is tough to plan for inventory around those two holidays. If during those 2 weeks, maybe your one or two your key staff is sick and you can't provide the right amount of flowers, there's just a lot that depends and is hinging on those two holidays. So what this florist decided to do is I said, you know what? We enjoy the florist business, we enjoy flowers, but we're going to change our business model. So they were in a city and they said, we are going to go out and we're going to market to high-end hotels, high-end offices, and high-end restaurants. And we are going to charge them an amount per month, and we'll show up every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it was, and we're going to water their plants, take care of their plants, and then bring more plants and change plants out for seasonality and do all the things I don't even understand because I'm not in the florist business. But now they went from having to, for lack of a better term, earn every sale and sell bouquets for Valentine's Day to now they have, within dollars, they know how much money they're bringing in every month, and it's predictable, it's recurring. They're providing a service, so they went to a subscription based model for flowers, which that's pretty genius if you ask me. And now that they have predictable revenue, which means that they know how many employees they can have and they can afford. And I would buy that business, right? I mean, if I don't necessarily have to know about flowers, as long as I had a management team and somebody who could run it, and then I know that really what I'm buying when I buy a business is the future cash flow. So that's one example on how recurring revenue can change the entire picture of a business. And if we all ask ourselves, how can we get more recurring revenue to where we're not, realtors can make a tremendous amount of money, but I might buy one house from a realtor and then maybe 15 years later I might buy another house. So they're basically never getting revenue from me. Whereas Netflix gets a little bit of money from me every month. And if I look at my credit card statement, there's probably 5 or 10 companies that are getting a little bit of money from me every month, some of which I really value the services, some of which I quite honestly forgot that it's even coming out. And maybe at a point I'll change.
Well, because so when you were talking about the florist, one of the things I thought about was the massage therapist again. I've had massage therapists that would come to my house. Before the massage, maybe I'll have them come maybe every 3 or 4 months. But there's other organizations say like I'm sure you've heard of Massage Envy, where that is a subscription service, and you have it like you get one massage for free and you get it at a discount. And the thing is, the company itself now has a business model, a subscription-based business model,
Mhm.
where they know predictably how much money, they'll find out how many people whose subscriptions are either going to be ending or somebody cancels, but they know what that percentage is, and they have a predictive model of their overall income.
Right, right. And if you own that business, you have less stress now because you know how much money's coming in every month within reason. Whereas if you're just charging per massage, you may have some months where you make double because for whatever reason, more people want massages. But invariably, you're going to have some months where your revenue is way down because for whatever reason, people are getting less massages that month. So I would ask every business owner to ask themselves, in what way can I begin to generate some? Now, sometimes you can't change your business model overnight, but how can you start to look at recurring revenue for your own benefit? And then everybody benefits when a business's cash flow is strong, because you have to pay your suppliers, right? So if you don't have money to pay your suppliers, they don't get paid, and then they stop supplying you, and it's a bad thing. And if you have adequate recurring revenue, you can pay your team more, and oftentimes that results in having a better team. So recurring revenue is hugely important. And if you stop and think about how many places in your life you're just paying a monthly subscription, and maybe how we can all apply that to our businesses.
Well, that is a great model, because I do know, just from my research back in the 90s and early 2000s, that let's say if you are running a magazine or a newspaper or whatever, you're not really depending upon the sales of the magazine, for an example, at a newsstand or at a bookstore, but that the fact that you or have those subscription on that weekly or monthly or daily basis becomes very, very, very important. And that model is one of the best models out there. And both David and I are also saying that that's just one stream of income. You can still have other streams of income other than just the subscription style of business model.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. And not every business can have 100% of their revenue be recurring, but most businesses can figure out a way. So let's go back to that barber example. Let's say you figure out a way to develop a value proposition where I pay whatever, $50 a month, and that gets me one haircut, and it gets me a discount on some fancy schmancy shampoo or skin treatment or something. And in order to get that, I have to, give you my credit card number, and it gets charged every month. Now, your job as the business owner is going to be to make sure that you and your business is continuing to deliver the value that it takes to keep me as a client, because simply getting my credit card number and charging me, eventually, if I don't feel like I'm getting enough in return, I'll cancel. But if you're delivering adequate value, keeping me happy, meeting my needs, then I'll be a customer, indefinitely. And you get a few of those, and it's a game changer for sure.
And then that is a business you can't sell, because you now have that revenue model of saying, this is what my profit and loss statements, or we in the industry would call a P&L statement. This is what we're bringing in, and now you can say, okay, I could now have a valuation of something of X dollar amount, because you've got that stuff coming in.
Yep, absolutely.
So David, tell me a couple of the little things about, say, as you've been growing your business, what have been some of your biggest challenges, and how did you overcome those challenges?
So staffing has always been a challenge, but I've looked at it in a different way. And I actually interviewed a sales trainer on my podcast, and he had written a blog post about everybody says that nobody wants to work, and but the different question you have to ask is, how can I make my environment to where people want to work for me? And then also ask the other question, would you want to work for you? So you have to create an environment that is conducive to people wanting to work. So in my office, where there's a lot of freedom, I understand that in some ways I can't compete benefit wise with huge factories, huge plants. So can't offer those benefits. But what I can say is, within reason, your children come first. So for almost any reason, if you need to leave and go deal with your children, then you do that. And that is a valuable benefit that if you work for a huge company, that's not always there. So that's just one example, but you have to develop a culture, and um you have to ask yourself, how can I be an employer that encourages people to want to work and to want to go above and beyond? And what can I give back? And in my one example, one thing that we have is a very, very liberal family childcare type policy. So if your kids need something, you know, you just go deal with it because single mothers with little kids get sick and they just need to be dealt with. So
Well, and I do like what you just said right there. Would you work for yourself if you were an employee? And the thing is, there's so many people out there that they starting their own business and say, "Hey, I'm the king, I'm the queen of this business, and therefore you must do what I say."
right.
But then the thing is, you don't make it a conducive work environment.
I saw a help wanted ad on Facebook and I almost messaged the owner, and it's someone that I kind of know, just I haven't seen them in years, but know them from like chamber meetings. And their help wanted ad said, help wanted. Um, it was like, if you're lazy, don't apply. If you need weekends off, don't apply. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is just all about what you need. And we need productive employees and productive team members for sure. But there's zero chance, unless I was almost going to starve to death, that I would have ever applied for that job because it was all about it even said something to the effect of, if you're lazy, like most people, don't apply. And it seemed like a very toxic situation to go into. Whereas I think if you say that we're hiring a team member, we want a mutually beneficial scenario, and here's what we can offer. We're a small business, so we have some flexibility. We do some performance based pay, and we'll talk to you about what's important to you. And if we can come up with a mutually beneficial way, we can make it happen. Now, of course, we do have to earn a profit, and we do have to get done what we need to get done, but we want a mutually beneficial relationship, and then you can at least start to develop a team. So building a team has been a challenge for sure, but I have a good team now.
Well, and the thing is, the fact that you are open to building that team and not is and trying not to do everything on your own, and then hiring the best people, and then giving them the benefits that they're going to be needing in order for them to be more effective and more productive in their roles.
Yes, yes, yes. But diversity. So again, if we go back to, there are some things that I am really, really good at. There's some things that I'm really, really bad at. But everything that I'm bad at, there's somebody that's good at it. So let's figure out ways to have team members, and I'm part of the team that have a varying degree of skills, and let's put the right people in the right seats doing the right tasks, and that's how you grow. Going back to team members though, you do have to hire with a standard. So I have made the mistake in my career of hiring for pity. I've had some people come in and I felt sorry for them, and they were in bad situations, and not judging, but they were in bad situations because of poor choices. And I've made poor choices, you've made poor choices, but and I hired them out of pity. And honestly, what I should have done is literally just given them money and said, here is a gift, here is um and maybe in different words, that you can't work here because you lack the qualifications, you lack any history of success. But I believe in helping the world, so here's a book that you can read about how to improve yourself, and here's a gift of money, maybe to get you out of a financial hole. And maybe at a time, if you have some history of success, we can talk again. But your team members have to have some history of success. And we need we need people with the characteristics that will meet goals. And if you're 30 or 40 and you've literally never achieved anything, it doesn't mean God doesn't love you, because he loves all of us equally. It just means that you can't work here, because there's nothing saying that you've had 20 years of failure, you've been fired literally 15 times, and now you're going to change because you're in a new environment. I mean, there's just no history there. So, and that's hard for me because I maybe have a little bit of a bleeding heart, but you do have to hire people that can help you to reach the goal.
Okay. Well, and that's very well said, because I think a lot of people do hire maybe their brother or their sister or their cousin because they're blood, or maybe they hire a
Right.
friend. When that owner knows they know that that person is not the best person for that role.
Well, and if you and I think a lot of business owners are philanthropical and are good people that want to help the world. you can't help the world if you're going bankrupt because people are stealing from you. So just to give you an example, we actually worked with an organization that placed troubled youths in businesses so that they can get some work experience. And this was years ago. And so we had some, and the organization was actually paying the people to work. So we were getting a quote free employee, and it was, and our cash drawer was short like $400 the first week. So the free employee cost us, and shortages just never happen. So, can't prove what happened, don't know what happened, but the free employee cost us $400 that week. And of course that couldn't stay. So yeah, you have to hire quality people, and it's easier said than done, but you need people who can help you to move towards the goal. And what I'd love to do, there's several organizations in my area. I'd love to write ridiculously large checks to these organizations because that would make me feel good and go with my value system. But I can't do that if our business is bleeding money or not being optimized.
Okay. Well, and that is so true. So David, as we're about to wrap up here, if one of our viewers or one of our listeners would be interested in learning more about your eight principles as well as how they can work on their own financial goals into the future, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Do you have a social media platform? Do you have a website, landing page, a calendar? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so would love if everybody listened to the Weekly Wealth Podcast. So you can find that on all the major platforms or just www.weeklywealthpodcast.com. And then also, as far as the business owners, if you go to weeklywealthpodcast.com/value builder score, you can take the 12-minute value builder assessment. And then it'll tell you where you are lacking in some of these 8 areas. And it'll actually also give you an estimate of value for your business. And then, of course, if you have any questions at all, you can email me, david@parallelfinancial.com. I'm always happy to point anybody in the right directions. But yeah, I, I've been on both sides of the money spectrum, and I can tell anybody that money doesn't buy happiness, but it's certainly when you have your money under control, life is just simply better. It just is. So that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because when you're taking money out of the way as a worry item, then you can worry about the things that really matter.
Well, and I've said this for a couple of decades now, is that most people tend to live within their means. It doesn't matter if you're making $2,000 a month or 24K a year, or you're making $200,000 a month. Most people are live within their means. For an example, let's say you and your spouse, you live in this house, and then all of a sudden you get this big raise. All of a sudden it's going to say, hey, let's remodel the kitchen, or let's go buy this new car, or they go and do that. So they're usually living within their means. And David mentioned this earlier. If you're making $700,000 a year and you're spending 701,000, there's an issue there.
Well, and you
So
look at a lot of these athletes, and you would say, "Well, I would never go broke if I made $20 million a year." Well, you good chance that you could, because we all just creep. Our lifestyle creeps. A little bit more money that we make, we just spend a little bit more.
Well, and that is the exact point I wanted to get across is a lot of people, like say a rapper or a musician or an athlete or something like that, they come with this large dollar money amount, is then all of a sudden, they're spending that same kind of money because they don't have any financial intelligence. And
Yep.
this is what David is here to help you guys with, is to help you increase your financial intelligence. So if you start making that extra money, you're not spending it automatically. You're say, okay, now let me invest. Let's put this toward my retirement. Now, hey, let's create a financial plan so that we can actually, number one, reinvest into your business, and then number two, even invest into your personal life so that you don't have to worry about all your finances all the time in the present and as well as in the near future.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, David, are there any last words that you would like to share with our viewers or our listeners before we go?
Yeah. So money amplifies, or how we handle our money, it amplifies who we are. So if you're a jerk and if you get a lot more money, you're going to be a bigger jerk. But if you're generous and you somehow figure out a way to manage your money more better and earn more, then you're going to be more generous. So think about what you want to be, and think about how your money and how you handle your money can enhance that, and then just make those difficult decisions and do what you have to do.
Right. Well, that was greatly said. So, for those of you that want to get a hold of David, go ahead and definitely look at the show notes. We'll have his website there. We'll have his email there as well. So, David, I do want to say thank you for being on the show today.
Hey, I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hearing the finished product.
Thanks for tuning in to another empowering episode of Business Amplified with Kevin A. Dunlap.
If you found value in today's insights, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast.
Keep amplifying your business. And remember, your success journey is our inspiration.
Until next time on Business Amplified, go out there and make your business thrive.